Hi, my name is Avery, and for my final project, I've decided to examine the crucial skills necessary to restore sibling relationships in adulthood. Sibling relationships can be complicated in general, but even more so in adulthood. By this point in life, siblings have often moved away from one another and their relationship becomes more distant. Especially if there was conflict or trauma in childhood, siblings may have trouble reconnecting, communicating, and healing. There may be bitterness and resentment towards one another that prevents adult siblings from maintaining their closeness or becoming closer in adulthood. Once their lives go in different directions, it can be hard to stay connected or be able to reconnect. Healthy relationships with siblings have been proven to increase happiness in adulthood, which is why restoring these relationships can be so crucial. Obtaining and practicing the following skills that we'll discuss can be the difference between a healthy, restored sibling relationship and a bitter, resentful one. The first step to restoring a broken or strained sibling relationship is transparent communication. Siblings should be able to be open and honest with one another, not just to air their grievances or frustrations, but to better understand each other. This can involve candidly explaining a event or conflict that caused severe hurt or parental treatment that led to resentment. The transition from childhood to adulthood can cause separation for siblings, which can lead to loneliness later in life. The National Library of Medicine says loneliness is linked to poor health and well-being. It is important to learn more about associations between sibling relationships and adjustments later in life. The main goal of this transparent communication is to be honest with each other, which results in understanding and hopefully conflict resolution as well. The next skill required to restore these relationships is empathy. Siblings need to accept one another and try to see their perspective in order to overcome the enmity and rebuild their relationship. As mentioned, differing treatment in childhood can lead to resentment for parents or siblings. For example, if a younger child is considered to be the favorite by the parents, the older child can feel overlooked, and the older sibling will often become bitter towards their younger. To begin restoring the previous bond, both siblings need to be able to understand the other's perspective. The American Psychology Association states that no one else will know what it was like growing up with your parents in your household. That sense of being understood by another person can be incredibly powerful. Abuse or trauma may have a similar effect in resentment, bitterness, and mistrust, but to an even more heightened degree. Past circumstances and feelings surrounding them must be processed in a healthy way to begin moving forward. This also includes acknowledging how such treatment has affected each sibling, accepting what happened in childhood, working towards restoring the strained relationship, and through acceptance and gaining another perspective. The next skill that we'll talk about is setting boundaries. Boundaries are essential to any relationship, and a sibling relationship is no exception. For this to properly occur, siblings must respect one another and establish their expectations moving forward. Big life changes such as employment, marriage, or bearing children can naturally cause a shift in sibling relationships, but with proper skills, these challenges can be overcome. Frequent communication and putting in sufficient effort are great ways to keep a relationship intact. On the flip side of this, boundaries can make or break a relationship. Siblings need to set clear parameters for their communication and relationships moving forward. Especially if there's any type of trauma, bitterness, or resentment between siblings, it can be difficult to move forward past what happened in their childhood. Siblings cannot expect their relationship to be immediately restored. It'll take a lot of time and effort to do that, but a mutual sense of respect between each other and personal boundaries are still necessary. For this to be accomplished, each sibling needs to clearly relay their expectation for the newly repaired relationship and how it will function. The National Library of Medicine states that two role transitions that often accompany leaving home and workforce participation are marriage and childbirth. Both roles have the potential to enhance closeness in sibling relationships or to exacerbate the previous difficulties. When siblings create their own natal family units, the social fabric of the original family changes to accommodate the new relationships. Newly restored relationships can be really exciting for these siblings, and hopefully they communicate well and want to regain their previous closeness. However, this could cause difficulties for siblings in different life stages and circumstances. For example, if one sibling has a family of their own, but another does not, they may expect their sibling to be available at any given time of any given day, but that's just not realistic. So this means the sibling with a family must set clear boundaries and expectations for the single sibling, which needs to respect those wishes so they can have proper boundaries and communication moving forward. The final step for siblings to be able to restore their relationship and move forward is forgiveness. They must be able to forgive each other and or their parents. Using all the previous skills mentioned, siblings must release the resentment that they may feel or that has been built up over the years. towards their parents or towards one another. In her research regarding how forgiveness relates to sibling relationships, April explains that siblings often view their relationship as mandatory. Even if siblings haven't spoken in years, they often feel obligated to that relationship because they have an emotional connection to one another from being raised in the same household by the same parents. They may feel obligated to conserve this relationship but put no effort towards doing so, which is why forgiveness can be so important to their relationship. Abel says, for the most part, the relationship between siblings is the longest relationship individuals will have, and it involves the siblings relating to one another to provide one another with support, guidance, companionship, and an intense emotional experience. Other research conducted by the National Library of Medicine states that sibling relationships are likely to be associated with well-being across the lifespan, showing just how crucial restoring these sibling relationships can be. Siblings must first be able to release resentment and forgive one another so they can move forward with their relationship. Further, they'll be able to reap the benefits of a close sibling relationship in older adulthood. So in conclusion, siblings must work through all these skills that we've talked about to restore their relationship. Sibling relationships in adulthood are proven to reduce loneliness and increase overall happiness. To restore these strained relationships, siblings must first communicate transparently, being honest and working to understand one another. Then they need to empathize, accepting their siblings and obtaining their perspective. Then siblings need to set boundaries for their relationship. Mutual respect is required, along with clearly establishing their expectations moving forward. Finally, siblings must forgive one another. Arguably, this is the most important step. To properly restore the relationship and move forward in adulthood, siblings must release resentment and forgive one another. With all these skills combined, siblings should be able to restore their relationship in adulthood.